It's just unbelievable to think about what occurred here 100 years ago, that this land that I'm standing on right now was the site of one of the worst incidents of racial violence in American history. It's hard to fathom.
Tulsa's Greenwood district was once a thriving and prosperous community known as Black Wall Street, home to one of America's most wealthy black populations.
Take me back to 1921. What was it like here on Black Wall Street?
There were grand hotels, movie theaters, restaurants, clothing stores, grocery stores. The list goes on and on. Everything that our community does not have today, the Black community was able to build in 1921. It was simply an amazing time in Tulsa's history.
But on Memorial Day 1921, an event would change the city forever. An unconfirmed allegation of an assault in an elevator between a 19-year-old black man named Dick Rowland and a 17-year-old white girl named Sarah Page.
And what was that night like when this vibrant neighborhood was destroyed?
So when white rioters began to gather in front of the courthouse, angry and upset about what had happened, determined to take matters into their own hands, lynchings were all too common in Tulsa. They began to set homes and businesses on fire. The National Guard was eventually called in. They were told that there was a Negro uprising, that Negroes were killing innocent unarmed whites. They sided with the white rioters and white police department and white city officials and began to arrest every African American in the community. More than 1,200 homes completely destroyed.
It's unclear how many people were killed, but some historians have the number as high as 300, with thousands left homeless.
It's one of the worst incidents of racial violence in U.S. history, and for decades it was one of the least talked about in news reports and public school textbooks. But now the city of Tulsa has decided to face its dark past to ensure a brighter future for all. So right now I am at an elementary school here in Tulsa, and I'm gonna talk to a 5th grade student and her teacher about what it's been like learning about the Tulsa Race Massacre.
I'm Akila Leach. I am a 5th grade language arts and social studies teacher at Lanier Elementary.
Hi, I'm Riley Myers, and I'm a 5th grade student here at Lanier Elementary.
What are you hoping that the city of Tulsa gets from this experience of learning about the Race Massacre?
I hope it helps people to reflect more on history and to become more comfortable with the topic.
After the massacre,
It's the first year of the Tulsa Public School System's brand new curriculum to educate its students about all aspects of the Race Massacre.
I grew up in Tulsa and graduated. I'm a TPS kid, and I did not really ever learn about the Tulsa Race Massacre. And so coming back as a teacher, it's been really rewarding to be able to fill in such a huge gap that's been missing in our curriculum for a very long time.
Pretend I'm one of your 5th grade students. How do you explain to them what happened in 1921?
I explain the truth, that this didn't just happen in a vacuum, that there was already jealousy and hatred of Greenwood and its success and the way that it was flourishing. Even 5th graders can understand that there are institutions involved. We talk about how the Tulsa Police Department was complicit in deputizing citizens and giving them guns to help them fuel this attack.
Some people might think that this curriculum is too intense for an 11-year-old. What would you say to them?
This is really what happened, and I need to know about this. I think that it was really important that we started to do this and to educate these young people so that they know in the future what to do and what not to do, and they know what really happened.
People call it the Black Wall Street.
There was nothing that you could not do. The sky was the limit.
The Tulsa Race Massacre will also be examined in the new CNN documentary called Dreamland: The Burning of Black Wall Street. Salima Karoma is the film's director.
Tell me about the name Dreamland.
Dreamland is a story about Oklahoma, which was the promised land for a lot of people, specifically black people. In fact, Oklahoma had the most all-black towns in America at that time. So it was a dreamland before it became kind of a nightmare.
Did you learn about the Tulsa Race Massacre when you were in school?
I did not learn about the Tulsa Race Massacre until I got to college. And actually, it was like one of these really obscure African American study classes that I took.
There are people who are still saying, why are we talking about this? This was 100 years ago. I had nothing to do with what my ancestors did 100 years ago.
We have to face it. Something has to happen, even if it's just empathy. Lack of knowledge or lack of knowing about the massacre, I think also breeds this indifference. Learning about it, teaching about it, we have to know about it. The same way that we know about other atrocities and we care, we give sympathy and empathy, we have to know about it. I hope that Dreamland is able to do that, at least a little bit.
In this shirt, it's just welcoming people to Tulsa and trying to get them to learn about our history more.
At Will Rogers College High School, U.S. history teacher Emily Harris is encouraging all of her 9th graders to think critically about potential avenues for justice.
It makes me more emotional every time I dive deeper into this subject, knowing that this happened in my own community. But I feel like the best thing that I can do as a teacher is to let students know the evidence of what happened and why it happened, so that we can build a better Tulsa community now.
What do your friends say in class when you hear about this? Does it spark discussion?
Most of the times, yes, because it's like, should they actually get reparations? Should they not? Most of the times, people agree they should.
It's not just a teacher standing in front of the room and saying, hey, here's what happened, and then moving on to the next subject. It's students really investigating history for themselves. So this curriculum brings an opportunity to teachers all across the country to be able to use it and have students really dive deep into the causes of this massacre and understanding the impact that the Greenwood community still feels today.